Hello and welcome to my first devlog for my indie game called Montamer. For the last 10 years I have had this dream game in my head that I wanted to develop, but the big scope of it has scared me off for as long as the last decade. Developing a game you want to publish can be scary since you don't know how it will be received by the gamers. I think this is the reason why I put it off for so long. But now, after a few completed games and a decade of daydreaming about it, I am finally taking the first steps towards making my own dream game, a monster catching game. I am still early in development, but far enough to have something to show you. At first I will focus on the basics of the gameplay, but if I want to make a big game like this, I will need some tools. First, a map editor, second, an event editor, and third, a database editor. With these three tools I will be able to design the game world without touching my code again. So first, let's take a look at my map editor. Please keep in mind that this is still work in progress and the look and functionality are still not final. Since my game will have many maps, I had to code a map editor that helps me with designing the maps. Things like automatic tiles, easy placements and events had to be implemented. A map consists of map cells, as I call them. These map cells are 32 x 32 tiles big and make up one unity scene. I decided to divide the maps into smaller chunks so the performance would be better, since I can unload map cells that are not near the player. Let's take a look at the map editor in action. First, I am placing some ground tiles showcasing the auto tiling of the map editor. On the left upper side of the scene view you can see a toolbar. Here I am using the rectangle tool to quickly fill an area with a ground tile. The map editor supports multiple floors and layers. First, we place the ground tile on the first floor of the ground layer. Adding a new floor gives us the ability to draw one tile higher. I like it to separate the ground from things like props and vegetation. Here I am placing some trees on the map. If two tiles are overlapping each other, you can use the Move In tool to correct the placements until you are satisfied. Somehow my recording didn't record the tilemap window, so here's a screenshot of the tilemap window where I can quickly select my desired tiles. With the eraser tool you can quickly erase objects you have placed before. Now I added a new layer to place the ground under the other ground tile. Now I am giving the map the final touches with different props and vegetation. Since this is an introduction video, I think this will be enough of the map editor for now. In the near future I will make a more detailed video about the map editor and all its functionality. If there's anything that you are particularly interested in, let me know in the comments below. Now let's take a look at the event editor. The event editor lets me add actions, triggers, conditions and other functionality to an event dynamically, without having to touch the code. This gives me the freedom to design the story of the game. Since it is still in the early stages of development, the event editor is not finished yet and has some limitations. To showcase the event editor, let's make a simple event where the player is not allowed to leave this area until he has chosen his startermon. First, let's set up the conditions. Here, we will choose the condition check quest to check if the quest choose starter is not completed yet. Now we will decide how this event will get triggered. Here, we will choose on trigger enter as the event trigger, but make sure you have selected the is trigger checkbox on the box collider. This trigger will fire only when the player enters. We choose trigger instead of collision, so the player can walk through if the conditions for this block event is not met. Next we will add the actions that will be executed when this event gets triggered. For that we can choose from a list of different actions to build up our event logic. For this simple event we only need two actions, show message and move player. We can specify the message and if you want to wait for the player input. Next we will add the move character action and set the target to player, since we want to move the player back 2 tiles up. Since he should do it only once every time this event is triggered, we will choose once as the move mode. We set the root of the move actions to move up and choose 2 as the amount and speed. The event is now finished and we can close the event editor window. This green box here is the box collider, which is important for our event since it describes the area where the player will trigger the event. We will increase the size so it takes up the whole path. Now we are done with this simple event. We can't leave this area until we got the first starter, so let's test it out. As you can see, we can't leave this area since we don't have completed the starter quest. Let's quickly do that and check if we can then leave the area. I have now completed the starter quest, so I can go to the event we set up before. As you can see, we can leave the area now since the conditions for firing the block event is not met anymore. This is just a small showcase of what the event editor is capable of. If you want me to do a separate video just for my event editor or map editor, drop me a comment below. Next, let's talk about my database editor, but again, please keep in mind that it is still work in progress. When designing my database editor, it was important for me to be able to edit all game relevant things in one place. So, my database editor is technically a quest editor, an item editor, an ability editor, etc. all in one. So, to show you my database editor, let's check out how I set up the monsters in my game. On the left side you can see a list of the currently available monsters. By selecting them you will be able to edit the informations of that monster. Meet Aleki, a starter mon of the type Electro. Here we can give the mon a name, a description as well as the number. Each mon will have 7 stats: HP, mana, attack, defense, speed, magical attack and magical defense. We can select a tier to calculate the stat points randomly. It will take into account what element type the monster is and calculate semi-random stats. In the visuals group we can set up the sprite and the 3D model that will be spawned in the battles. In the evolution group we can configure the evolution of the mon. A feature that is still missing here is a condition feature. Maybe there will be mons that will have an evolution tree. For example, you have a base mon and the female mon of it will evolve into another mon than the male one. This feature will be added in the near future. In the elements list you can choose which elements the mon will have. You can add as many as you want. In the upper right corner we can configure the abilities that the mon will learn and specify at which level they will be learned. The group learnable abilities will have all the abilities that the mon can learn. Abilities that cannot be learned by leveling up must be added here. For example, there will be quests where you can get a new ability as a reward. Since we are talking about abilities, let's quickly check out the ability editor. Let's check out the ability absorb. Most of the settings are self-explanatory. You can set the names, priority, accuracy, type and target. The most interesting part should be the effect group. Here you can add effects that the ability will do on successful execution. First, we deal damage to the receiver. Next, we will heal the caster by the amount the first effect dealt to the target. You can choose fixed amounts as well as relative amounts like heal 20% of the HP of the mon. There will be more effects in the future since the list is not final yet. Abilities like bite and tackle will have only one effect, dealing damage. Only the settings like power, accuracy, the animation plate, etc. will be different. So this is a little overview of my database editor. You may ask yourself the question, why is this dude showing me the tools he developed and not the game? Well, in the near future, I want to make the monster catching editor available for you all, so you can develop your own monster catching game as well. But there are still a lot of things missing that I might don't even know about yet, but I hope you will join me on my journey of developing this game and the tools for it. I want to keep this video short since this is my first video. I hope you enjoyed this video and will be interested in the upcoming videos as well. So, if you want to stay up to date, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching.